The year is 2026. Through a screen of dust, a 1959 Cadillac Eldorado Barretts appears and makes its way into the paddock. It comes to a stop outside of the Cadillac garage, and out steps a mysterious figure. His peach cowboy boots clack on the ground, echoing around the circuit. He fixes his handlebar moustache, flicks his toothpick onto the ground, and gently lowers the brim of his Stetson. The Honey Badger is back. As you've probably heard by now, Andretti has joined up with General Motors and stated their intentions to join Formula One under the Cadillac name. This has seemingly caused friction between the FIA and F1, with FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem expressing his surprise at the adverse reaction to the plans. We can only assume that the aforementioned adverse reaction is referring to the fairly cutting statement from Formula One, which says, "Any new entrant request requires the agreement of both F1 and the FIA." So it doesn't particularly sound like the Andretti and GM entry has the agreement of both F1 and the FIA. There's also the issue of the current Formula One teams. It seems the majority of teams are against the new entry, with only Alpine being reported as backing the project. Although, due to the close relationship between Andretti and Zak Brown of McLaren, they may have more support than that. So why would the current lineup of F1 teams be against this move? Well, to put it simply, cash, dollar, the bag. Money. Having an extra team involved means that every team loses an amount of market value, as well as having prize money spread more thinly across the pack. Formula One does have an expansion fee, which requires any new entry to pay $200 million, which is supposed to compensate the other teams on the grid for their slight loss in value. However, the current crop of teams seemingly don't think that's enough. Aside from the internal politics and finances of Formula One, we're actually witnessing a phenomenon that's becoming more and more rare these days. The fans overwhelmingly agreeing with the FIA. I know! The overall reaction to Andretti and GM as a potential 11th team has been incredibly positive. More cars, more excitement, yes please. And whilst there is always the potential for a new team to join the sport and then spend most of their time consistently at the back of the grid, which nobody wants to see, Andretti appear to have the knowledge, experience and finances to potentially hit the ground running and become a competitive outfit within a few seasons, which we do want to see. So, who could be driving for Cadillac in Formula One? The rumoured frontrunner for a seat with Cadillac is IndyCar driver Colton Herta. Why? Well, because Michael Andretti said that the frontrunner for the seat is Colton Herta. Colton was incredibly close to joining AlphaTauri for the 2023 season, but due to a lack of super license and a refusal from the FIA to make an exception for him, he was unable to make the move. Andretti have stated that they want at least one American driver on the team, and there is no more obvious choice than their currently contracted, exciting prospect who, according to Mario Andretti, set a faster time than Kimi Räikkönen in a Sauber simulator, which is no mean feat. Michael Andretti has said that he wants their F1 bid to be an all-American effort. So who better to get in the car than Daniel Ricciardo? I know you've already probably started typing a comment saying, "Oh, Kieran, you know nothing about Formula One. Oh, he's actually Australian. Oh, bring Matty and Tommy back." Okay, you don't have to do that. I know he's Australian. Nobody on the grid has embraced the American spirit and culture in recent times like DR3, and anybody who has witnessed his antics in Texas knows how much love he has for the place. It's no secret that he's had an incredibly tough time with McLaren, but hopefully a season off the grid, back at home with Red Bull as a third driver, can bring back his fire and love for the sport again. Logan Sargent is the first American driver on the grid since Alexander Rossi in 2015 and will be behind the wheel of a Williams this coming season. Unless we see a huge improvement in the Williams car this year, it's going to be pretty hard to tell just how good Logan is. The only realistic way of telling would be the comparison between him and Alex Albon. Sargent has won races in every series he's competed in and came very close to beating Oscar Piastri to the F3 title in 2020. Time will tell, but if Logan is successful in his rookie season in F1, he may be a strong contender for the Cadillac seat if that seat ends up existing. And now for some slightly more out there choices. 2021 IndyCar champion Alex Palou is going to be continuing to drive for Chip Ganassi Racing in 2023, but is also contracted with McLaren as a reserve driver for their F1 team. He clearly has talent and ambitions of racing in Formula One, and it's looking increasingly unlikely that the opportunity would come with McLaren. So maybe a seat with Cadillac would be a possibility. Kyle Kirkwood is an exciting prospect, currently contracted to Andretti Autosport for the 2023 IndyCar season. He might not be an obvious choice, but Andretti clearly rate him very highly. And finally, Fernando Alonso. Honestly, you kind of got to mention Fernando whenever it comes to a potential driver move. He loves to surprise people, he loves a rogue move, and the chances of him ever retiring from the sport are getting slimmer and slimmer every day. And that's who we think could potentially take a seat with Cadillac if they're successful in their mission to get into F1. We want to hear your thoughts on this. Would you like an 11th team on the grid? And which drivers would you pick? Let us know in the comments.